Chapter 1 The perfect picnic spot. Look at that view! Liv exclaimed, her eyes sparkling as she pointed toward the shimmering lake that stretched out like a sheet of glass. The sun reflected off its surface, creating a dazzling display of light that seemed to beckon them closer. Let's find the perfect spot. Ashley chimed in, her voice bright with enthusiasm. She led the way, her long hair trailing behind her like a golden banner. The others followed, their spirits lifted by the promise of a day filled with laughter and good food. They wandered through the park, the scent of blooming flowers mingling with the earthy aroma of freshly cut grass. Caitlin, always the planner, clutched a picnic basket tightly, her eyes darting around as if searching for the ideal location. "How about over there?" she suggested, pointing to a patch of soft grass beneath a towering oak tree. The tree's branches swayed gently, casting playful shadows on the ground. "Perfect," Paige agreed, her voice bubbling with excitement. "We can spread out the blanket right by the water. It'll be so picturesque." As they settled down, the blanket unfurling like a canvas of color against the green backdrop, Mary-Kate felt a flutter of anticipation in her chest. She glanced at Brad, who was busy arranging the food, his brow furrowed in concentration. The memory of their conversation from the previous day lingered in her mind, a mix of exhilaration and anxiety. Would things be different now? Would they be able to navigate the uncharted waters of their friendship? "Hey, Mary-Kate, pass me the sandwiches," Brad called, breaking her reverie. His voice was light, but there was an undercurrent of something deeper, a tension that neither of them could quite articulate. "Sure," she replied, forcing a smile as she reached into the basket. The sandwiches were neatly wrapped in wax paper, and as she handed one to him, their fingers brushed. A spark ignited between them, and she quickly pulled her hand back, her heart racing. "Whoa, did you feel that?" Liv teased, her eyes darting between them. "I think I just witnessed a moment." "Shut up, Liv," Brad said, his cheeks flushing slightly as he shot her a playful glare. The others laughed, but Mary-Kate felt her stomach twist with a mix of embarrassment and something else, something thrilling. "Let's eat before it gets cold," Caitlin suggested, her voice cutting through the playful banter. She began to unpack the array of food. Fresh fruit, chips, and an assortment of homemade sandwiches. The colors were vibrant, a feast for the eyes as much as for the stomach. As they dug in, the atmosphere lightened, filled with the sound of crunching chips and the occasional burst of laughter. "Did you hear about the guy who invented lifesavers?" Ashley asked, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "He made a mint." "Oh, come on," Paige groaned, rolling her eyes but unable to suppress a smile. "That was terrible, terribly good," Liv countered, her laughter infectious. The jokes flowed freely, each one building on the last, creating a tapestry of humor that wrapped around them like a warm blanket. But beneath the laughter, Mary-Kate could sense the tension simmering just below the surface. She caught Brad's eye again, and for a moment, the world around them faded. The laughter of their friends became a distant echo, and all she could focus on was the way he looked at her. Intense, searching, as if he were trying to read her thoughts. "Hey, you two lovebirds," Caitlin called, breaking the spell. "Are you going to join us, or are you planning a secret rendezvous?" Mary-Kate's cheeks flushed again, and she quickly looked away, pretending to be fascinated by a butterfly flitting nearby. "Just enjoying the view," she said, her voice light but her heart pounding. "Right," Caitlin said, a knowing smile on her face. "Just don't forget to share the view with the rest of us." As the picnic continued, the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the grass. The laughter gradually faded, replaced by a comfortable silence as they lounged on the blanket, full in content. Mary-Kate leaned back, her head resting on her arms, and closed her eyes, letting the sounds of the park wash over her. The distant laughter of children, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, and the gentle lapping of water against the shore. But even in this moment of peace, a sense of unease lingered in the air. She could feel the weight of unspoken words, the tension that had been building since Brad's confession. It was as if the universe was holding its breath, waiting for something to break the surface. "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" Brad's voice cut through her thoughts, and she opened her eyes to find him standing above her, his expression serious. Sure," she replied, her heart racing as she sat up. The others were engrossed in their own conversations, blissfully unaware of the shift in the air. Brad gestured for her to follow him a few steps away from the group, toward the edge of the lake. The water sparkled in the fading light, and the air felt charged with anticipation. "I wanted to apologize for how things went down yesterday," he said, his voice low and earnest. "I didn't mean to put you on the spot." Mary-Kate swallowed hard, her pulse quickening. "It's okay, Brad. I mean, it was unexpected, but I'm glad you told me how you feel." He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit she had come to recognize. "I just didn't want to ruin our friendship. You mean a lot to me, and I didn't want to make things awkward." "Awkward?" she echoed, her heart fluttering. "I think we're already past that point." He chuckled softly, but there was a tension in his smile. "Yeah, I guess we are. But I don't want to lose what we have. I really like you, Mary-Kate." The sincerity in his eyes sent a rush of warmth through her. She felt a mix of fear and excitement, the thrill of possibility mingling with the weight of uncertainty. "I like you too, Brad. But what does that mean for us? I don't want to complicate things." He stepped closer, the distance between them shrinking. "Maybe it doesn't have to be complicated." Chapter 2 The great food reveal. As the friends gathered around the blanket, the excitement was palpable. Each dish was a reflection of its creator, a small piece of their personality laid out for everyone to enjoy. Brad, with his easy smile and laid-back demeanor, was the first to unveil his contribution. He pulled out a stack of neatly wrapped sandwiches, their crusts perfectly trimmed and the fillings peeking out enticingly. "Behold, the Brad special," he declared, puffing out his chest as if he were a chef unveiling a Michelin star dish. Turkey and avocado on whole grain, with a hint of mustard. "The secret, a sprinkle of love." Mary-Kate rolled her eyes playfully. "Love, is that what you call the extra mustard you slathered on? I can smell it from here." "Hey, it is a bold choice," Brad shot back, grinning. "Besides, it is all about the flavor, right?" Mary-Kate, with her bright eyes and infectious enthusiasm, was next. She revealed her fruit salad, a kaleidoscope of colors that sparkled in the sunlight. "I present to you the Mary-Kate medley. Fresh strawberries, blueberries, and a hint of mint. Perfect for a hot day." "Wow, that looks amazing," Liv exclaimed, her voice filled with genuine admiration. "You always know how to make the simplest things look so fancy." "Thanks. But wait until you see my cookies," Liv chimed in, reaching into her bag to pull out a container filled with chocolate chip cookies, their edges perfectly golden and the chocolate still slightly melty. "I call them Liv's Little Luxuries." "More like Liv's Little Temptations," Ashley teased, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "I'll take 3, Please. Ashley then revealed her own dish, a vibrant pasta salad bursting with colors. Cherry tomatoes, bell peppers, and olives tossed in a light vinaigrette. And here we have the Ashley classic. It's a family recipe, but I added my own twist with some feta cheese. You're all going to love it. Caitlin, ever the pragmatist, pulled out a bag of chips, her expression mock serious. And I brought the essential side dish. You can't have a picnic without chips, right? I mean, who doesn't love crunching on something salty? True, but you could have at least dressed it up a bit, Paige chimed in, her voice teasing. She then produced a pitcher of freshly made lemonade, the citrusy scent wafting through the air. And for the grand finale, I present the Paige Punch. Sweet, tangy, and guaranteed to quench your thirst. As they all took turns complimenting each other's food, the friendly competition intensified. The banter flowed as freely as the lemonade, each friend trying to outdo the last with playful jabs and exaggerated praise. Okay, but seriously, who's going to be the judge of this feast? Brad asked, leaning back on his elbows, a mischievous glint in his eyes. I think we need a taste test to determine the ultimate picnic dish. Agreed, Mary-Kate said, her excitement bubbling over. Let's do it. We can rate each dish on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 for presentation, 10 for taste, and 10 for creativity, Liv added, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Sounds like a recipe for disaster, Caitlin said, crossing her arms with a smirk. But I'm in. Just don't cry when my chips win. As they began to sample each dish, the air filled with laughter and playful arguments over who had the best recipe. The sandwiches were devoured, the fruit salad was praised for its freshness, and the cookies disappeared faster than Liv could keep track. The pasta salad was a hit, and even Caitlin's chips were met with enthusiastic crunching. But just as the atmosphere reached a peak of joy and camaraderie, a sudden rustling interrupted their laughter. A line of ants, small but determined, appeared from the underbrush, marching straight toward their picnic spread. Oh no, Paige exclaimed, her eyes widening. Look out, we've got company. Quick, grab the food, Brad shouted, scrambling to gather the remaining sandwiches as the ants advanced with alarming precision. Why are they always so organized? Caitlin muttered, swatting at the tiny invaders. It's like they have a plan. Maybe they're here for the pasta salad, Ashley joked, trying to lighten the mood as she helped Liv shove cookies back into their container. Or my fruit salad, Mary-Kate added, her voice rising in mock panic. They can't have it. As the friends scrambled to protect their picnic, the tension shifted from playful to frantic. The ants were relentless, their tiny bodies swarming over the blanket, and the laughter that had filled the air moments before was replaced by shouts and squeals of surprise. Okay, everyone calm down. Brad called out, trying to maintain some semblance of order. Let's just move everything back a bit. We can set up a barrier with the cooler. Good idea, Paige agreed, her heart racing as she grabbed the cooler and positioned it between the ants and their food. As they worked together, a sense of urgency filled the air, but beneath it all, a current of camaraderie remained. They were in this together, battling the tiny invaders as a team. Once the food was secured, they all collapsed back onto the blanket, panting and laughing at the absurdity of the situation. Who knew ants could be such fierce competitors? Liv said, wiping her brow dramatically. Next time, we're bringing ant repellent, Caitlin declared, her tone half serious. Or we could just picnic somewhere without a colony of ants, Ashley suggested, her laughter ringing out like music. As they settled back into their picnic, The earlier tension faded, replaced by a renewed sense of joy. They resumed their taste testing, the friendly competition reigniting as they critiqued each dish with exaggerated seriousness. But as the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the park, an unspoken tension lingered beneath the surface. Each friend was lost in their thoughts, the laughter masking deeper emotions that had yet to surface. Brad, in particular, felt a weight in his chest as he watched Mary-Kate. She was animated, her laughter infectious. Chapter 3 Ants on a mission. The sun hung high in the azure sky, casting a warm glow over the park as laughter echoed through the air. In the previous chapter, Brad, Mary-Kate, Liv, Ashley, Caitlin, and Paige had settled into their picnic spot, a vibrant blanket spread out near the shimmering lake. The scent of fresh sandwiches, sweet fruit salad, and baked cookies mingled with the earthy aroma of the grass, creating a perfect backdrop for their day of camaraderie. But just as the atmosphere was filled with light-hearted banter and friendly competition over whose dish was the best, a line of ants emerged, marching with purpose toward their feast. Now, chaos erupted as the tiny invaders swarmed over the blanket, their tiny bodies a dark wave against the colorful fabric. Brad's eyes widened in horror as he watched the first few ants make a beeline for his carefully crafted sandwiches. "No, not the sandwiches!" he shouted, leaping to his feet, his arms flailing in a comical attempt to shoo them away. "Brad, you're going to scare them away." Liv laughed, her voice bubbling with amusement as she tried to stifle a giggle. "They're just hungry. Hungry. They're about to ruin my masterpiece," Brad exclaimed, his voice a mix of panic and indignation. He swatted at the ants, but they seemed undeterred, continuing their relentless march. "Maybe they just want a taste of your culinary genius," Mary-Kate teased, her eyes sparkling with mischief. She leaned back on her elbows, a smirk playing on her lips as she watched the spectacle unfold. "Yeah, genius or not, I'm not sharing with ants," Brad retorted, his frustration mounting as he chased after the little invaders, his sneakers crunching on the grass. The ants, however, were relentless, darting around him with a surprising agility that left him exasperated. "Guys, we need a plan," Caitlin suggested, her brow furrowed in concentration. "We can't let them take over our picnic. It's a matter of pride." "Pride. This is about survival," Ashley chimed in, her laughter ringing out like a bell. "What if they carry us off next?" Okay, let's think," Paige said, her voice steady despite the chaos. She leaned forward, her eyes scanning the blanket, then her gaze landed on the fruit salad. "What if we distract them? We could offer them a piece of fruit." "Like a peace offering?" Liv asked, her brow raised in mock seriousness. "What do we negotiate with?" "A slice of watermelon, maybe a piece of apple," Caitlin suggested, her tone lightening as she reached for the bowl. "They seem to be heading straight for the sandwiches, so let's lure them away." "All right, let's do it," Brad exclaimed, finally stepping back from his futile chase. He watched as Caitlin carefully cut a piece of apple, the crisp sound echoing in the air as she sliced through the fruit. The sweet, tangy scent wafted up, mingling with the other picnic aromas. "Here goes nothing," Caitlin said, her voice a mix of determination and amusement. She placed the apple slice a few feet away from the blanket, right at the edge of the ants' path. The ants paused, as if sensing the shift in their mission. A few of them veered off, their antennae twitching in curiosity as they approached the offering. "Look, it's working," Ashley exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. "Quick, before they change their minds," Brad urged, his heart racing as he watched the ants swarm the apple slice. "Let's grab the sandwiches and move them." In a flurry of movement, the friends scrambled to gather their food, laughter mixing with shouts as they raced against the tiny invaders. Brad grabbed his sandwiches, cradling them protectively against his chest. "You're not getting these, you little thieves," he declared, his voice half serious, half joking. As they moved their picnic spread further away from the ants, the tension began to ease, replaced by a sense of camaraderie in the face of adversity. "I can't believe we're negotiating with ants," Liv said, shaking her head in disbelief, her laughter bubbling up again. "Desperate times call for desperate measures," Caitlin replied, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Next time, I'm bringing an ant-proof picnic basket. Or we could just eat inside," Paige suggested, her tone playful. "But where's the fun in that?" As they settled back onto the blanket, the chaos of the ants faded into the background, replaced by the warmth of friendship and the shared joy of the moment. They resumed their banter, teasing each other about their culinary skills and recounting stories from their childhood. "Remember that time we tried to bake cookies and nearly set the kitchen on fire?" Ashley said, her eyes glinting with nostalgia. "Or the time we made that gourmet dinner and forgot to turn on the oven?" Mary-Kate added, her laughter infectious. "Hey, we were young and ambitious," Brad defended, a grin spreading across his face. "And we learned from our mistakes, right?" "Right," Caitlin agreed, her tone light. "And now we're professionals at picnic disasters." As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the park, the friends settled into a comfortable rhythm, their laughter mingling with the sounds of nature around them. The rustling leaves, the distant chirping of birds, and the gentle lapping of the lake created a serene backdrop for their gathering. But beneath the surface of their laughter, a subtle tension lingered. Brad couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He glanced at Mary-Kate, who had been unusually quiet since the ant invasion. Her smile was bright, but her eyes held a flicker of something deeper, an unspoken worry that tugged at his heart. "Hey, Mary-Kate," he said, his voice softer now, "are you okay?" She looked up, surprise flickering across her features. "Yeah, I'm fine, just thinking." "About what?" He pressed gently, his concern growing. She hesitated, her gaze drifting to the lake. "Just life, I guess. It feels like everything is changing so fast." Brad nodded, understanding her unspoken fears. "I get that. It's like we're all on this path, and sometimes it feels overwhelming." "Exactly," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I just don't want to lose what we have." "Hey, we're in this together," he reassured her, his heart swelling with a mix of affection and protectiveness. "No matter what happens, we'll always have each other's backs." Mary-Kate smiled, a genuine warmth spreading across her face. "Thanks, Brad. That means a lot." As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the blanket, the friends continued to share stories and laughter. Chapter 4 Game on. "Okay, enough with the ants," Liv declared, her voice a mix of determination and amusement. "Let's play some games. We can't let a few tiny invaders ruin our day." "Agreed," Ashley chimed in, her enthusiasm infectious. "How about charades? It's perfect for getting us back into the spirit of things." "Charades? Really?" Caitlin raised an eyebrow, a teasing smile playing on her lips. "You just want an excuse to show off your terrible acting skills." "Hey, I'll have you know I'm a master of disguise," Brad interjected, puffing out his chest dramatically. Just wait until you see my chicken impression. Alright, let's see it then. Paige encouraged, her laughter bubbling up like the lemonade she had brought. The group formed a loose circle around Brad, who stood in the center, his eyes glinting with playful challenge. With a deep breath, Brad flapped his arms and squawked, his body twisting in exaggerated movements. "Bok! Bok!" he clucked, his face contorting into a comical expression that sent the others into fits of laughter. "Is that a chicken or a dying duck?" Ashley gasped between giggles, clutching her stomach as she doubled over. "Definitely a dying duck," Caitlin agreed, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes. "But it is so bad, it is good." Brad took a bow, basking in the applause of his friends. Thank you. I'll be here all week." As the game continued, each friend took their turn, embodying everything from a dancing elephant to a dramatic soap opera star. The air was thick with laughter, the kind that felt like a warm embrace, pushing away the remnants of their earlier chaos. Liv's impersonation of a cat stuck in a tree had them all rolling on the grass, while Mary Kate's exaggerated portrayal of a librarian shushing everyone was met with raucous applause. Okay, my turn," Caitlin announced, her eyes sparkling with mischief. She stepped into the center, her hands poised as if she were about to unveil a grand performance. "I'm going to need some serious silence for this one." The group quieted, anticipation hanging in the air. Caitlin began to mimic a chef, her movements fluid and exaggerated as she pretended to chop vegetables, sprinkle spices, and taste her imaginary dish. The friends watched, captivated, until she suddenly dropped to the ground, rolling around as if she had slipped on a banana peel. "Chef gone rogue," Paige shouted, and the group erupted into laughter once more. As the game progressed, the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the park. The vibrant colors of the flowers seemed to glow even brighter in the golden light, and the sound of rustling leaves created a soothing backdrop to their joyful chaos. Yet, amidst the laughter, a subtle tension began to weave its way into the fabric of their camaraderie. "Okay, my turn," Ashley declared, her voice slightly more subdued than before. She stepped forward, her expression shifting from playful to contemplative. "I'm going to act out something a little different." The group quieted, sensing the change in her demeanor. Ashley took a deep breath, her brow furrowing as she began to mimic a person lost in thought, pacing back and forth, her hands wringing together. The laughter faded, replaced by a heavy silence as they watched her, unsure of what to make of this unexpected turn. "Are you okay?" Liv asked softly, breaking the tension. "You don't have to act if you don't want to." Ashley paused, her eyes flickering with uncertainty. "No, I want to. I've been feeling a little lost lately, you know. Like I'm trying to find my way but can't quite get there." The group exchanged glances, the weight of her words settling over them like a thick fog. Brad stepped forward, his playful demeanor replaced by genuine concern. "What do you mean? Is it about school, or something else?" Ashley hesitated, her gaze drifting to the shimmering lake nearby. "It's just everything feels so overwhelming sometimes. I thought I had it all figured out, but now I'm not so sure. I feel like I'm just going through the motions." Mary Kate moved closer, her voice gentle. "You're not alone, Ash. We all feel that way sometimes. It's okay to not have everything figured out." "Yeah," Caitlin added, her tone supportive. "We're here for you, no matter what. You can talk to us about anything." Ashley's eyes glistened with unshed tears, and she nodded slowly, her vulnerability hanging in the air like a fragile thread. "Thanks, guys. I don't want to be a burden." "You could never be a burden," Paige reassured her, stepping forward to wrap her arms around Ashley in a comforting embrace. "We're friends. That's what we're here for." The warmth of their support enveloped Ashley, and she felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. "I appreciate it. I really do." As the group settled back into their circle, the atmosphere shifted once more, the laughter returning but now tinged with a deeper understanding. They resumed their game, but the lightheartedness was laced with a newfound connection, a bond forged in shared vulnerability. Brad took his turn next, and with a determined look, he began to act out a superhero, striking poses and flexing his imaginary muscles. "I am Captain Courageous," he declared, his voice booming. "Here to save the day." The friends erupted into laughter, the tension of the earlier moment dissipating like mist in the morning sun. Brad's antics were infectious, and soon they were all joining in, pretending to be sidekicks and villains, their imaginations running wild. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the park, the group found themselves sprawled on the blanket, breathless from laughter. The world around them felt alive, vibrant, and full of possibilities. "Okay, one last round before we pack up," Liv suggested, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "But this time, let's make it a little more interesting. How about we add a twist? If you can't guess what someone is acting out, you have to share a secret." The group exchanged glances, a mix of excitement and apprehension swirling among them. "I'm in," Brad said, his competitive spirit ignited. "Me too," Caitlin added, her smile brightening. "Let's do it." Chapter 5 A walk to remember. As they packed up the remnants of their feast, the air was filled with the scent of fresh grass and blooming flowers, a fragrant backdrop to their camaraderie. The vibrant colors of the park seemed to pulse with life, and the gentle rustle of leaves whispered promises of adventure. "Okay, who's up for a walk?" Brad suggested, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "We can't let a few ants ruin our day." "Count me in," Paige chirped, her enthusiasm infectious. She brushed a stray hair behind her ear, her cheeks still flushed from laughter. "I could use a little exercise after all that pasta salad," Ashley added, playfully patting her stomach. "Let's go," Liv exclaimed, her eyes bright with excitement. "I want to see more of this beautiful park." With a collective nod, the group set off, the blanket folded neatly under Brad's arm. They walked along the winding path, the sound of their laughter mingling with the chirping of birds and the distant splashes of children playing in the nearby playground. The sun filtered through the trees, casting dappled shadows on the ground, creating a mosaic of light and dark that danced beneath their feet. As they strolled, the conversation flowed effortlessly, each friend contributing to the lively banter. Caitlin and Ashley debated the merits of various pasta shapes, while Mary-Kate and Liv shared stories of their childhood adventures. Brad, ever the instigator, threw in playful jabs, teasing Liv about her cookie baking skills. "Those cookies were so good, I almost forgot about the ants," he laughed, nudging her playfully. Liv rolled her eyes but couldn't suppress a smile. "Yeah, well, at least I didn't impersonate a chicken." The group continued their walk, the path leading them deeper into the heart of the park. They passed vibrant flower beds, their colors bursting forth like confetti, and tall trees that swayed gently in the breeze. The air was alive with the scent of blooming lilacs and freshly cut grass, a fragrant reminder of the beauty of spring. After a few minutes, they stumbled upon a small pond, its surface shimmering like glass under the sun. A family of ducks paddled lazily across the water, quacking softly as they splashed about. The sight brought a collective gasp of delight from the group. "Look at them!" Paige exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder. "They're so cute." Liv, ever the animal lover, rushed to the edge of the pond, her heart swelling with excitement. "I have some bread in my bag. I'll feed them." She rummaged through her backpack, pulling out a crumpled bag of stale bread she had intended for her own lunch. "Are you sure they'll eat it?" Caitlin asked, a teasing smile on her lips. "I mean, it is not exactly gourmet." "Trust me, ducks are not picky," Liv replied confidently, tearing off a piece of bread and tossing it into the water. The ducks, however, seemed unimpressed, gliding past the floating morsel as if it were an unwanted guest at a party. "Hey, over here," Liv called, waving her arms as if the ducks could hear her. "I'm trying to feed you." The ducks quacked loudly, but instead of approaching, they turned and waddled away, their little tails bobbing in the air. Liv's mouth dropped open in mock disbelief, and the group erupted into laughter. "Maybe they're on a diet," Ashley joked, crossing her arms and leaning back against a nearby tree. "You know, trying to fit into their duck-sized swimsuits for summer." "Or maybe they just have high standards," Brad chimed in, a smirk playing on his lips. "I mean, who wouldn't want a 5-star meal?" Liv pouted, crossing her arms dramatically. "Fine, I'll just eat the bread myself." She took a bite, her expression shifting from disappointment to amusement as she chewed. "Not bad, actually. Now that's a true friend," Caitlin teased, nudging Liv with her shoulder. Willing to sacrifice her lunch for the sake of the ducks. As the laughter faded, a comfortable silence settled over the group. They watched the ducks swim, their reflections rippling in the water, and for a moment the world felt perfect. But beneath the surface of their light-hearted banter, a tension simmered, unspoken but palpable. Brad glanced at Mary-Kate, who stood a few steps away, her gaze fixed on the pond. There was something in her expression that made his heart race, a flicker of vulnerability that he hadn't noticed before. He felt an urge to reach out, to bridge the distance between them, but the weight of unspoken words hung heavy in the air. "Hey, Mary-Kate," he called, stepping closer. "What are you thinking about?" She turned to him, her eyes wide with surprise. "Oh, just the ducks. They're kind of funny, aren't they?" "Funny how?" he pressed, sensing there was more beneath her casual response. She hesitated, biting her lip. "I don't know. They just seem so carefree. It's nice to see something so simple and happy." Brad nodded, feeling a strange connection forming between them. "Yeah, I get that. Sometimes I wish we could be more like them. Just float along without a care in the world." Mary-Kate smiled softly, but there was a hint of sadness in her eyes. "Life isn't always that simple, though, is it?" Before he could respond, Ashley interjected, her voice bright and cheerful. "Let's take a picture. This moment deserves to be captured." She pulled out her phone, her excitement infectious. "Good idea," Caitlin agreed, positioning herself next to Liv, who was still trying to coax the ducks. "Come on, everyone, gather around." As they huddled together, Brad felt the warmth of Mary-Kate's shoulder brushing against his. He glanced down at her, and for a fleeting moment, their eyes locked. The world around them faded, the laughter of their friends becoming a distant hum. There was something electric in the air, a tension that crackled between them, but just as quickly, it slipped away as Ashley snapped the picture. "Say, quack," she called, and the group erupted into laughter once more, the moment of intimacy lost in the chaos of friendship. As they continued their walk, the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the path. Chapter 6 The unexpected twist. Hey, look at that! Liv exclaimed, pointing toward a narrow, winding path that seemed to beckon them with its mystery. The path was partially obscured by overgrown bushes, but the vibrant colors of wildflowers peeked through, enticing them to explore further. Should we? Caitlin asked, her eyes sparkling with mischief. It could lead to nowhere, or it could be something amazing. Or we could find a hidden treasure. Brad chimed in, his enthusiasm infectious. Come on, it is an adventure. What's the worst that could happen? With a chorus of agreement, the group stepped onto the hidden path, the soft crunch of gravel beneath their feet mingling with the distant sound of laughter from other park-goers. The air was fragrant with the scent of blooming flowers, and the gentle rustle of leaves overhead created a soothing symphony. As they walked, the path opened up into a secret garden, a hidden oasis bursting with color. Butterflies flitted from flower to flower, their delicate wings shimmering in the sunlight. The friends stood in awe, their eyes wide with wonder. Wow, this place is incredible. Ashley breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. It's like we've stepped into a fairy tale. Mary-Kate knelt beside a cluster of daisies, her fingers brushing against the petals. I can't believe we found this. Let's take some selfies, she suggested, pulling out her phone. The group gathered around her, striking goofy poses among the blooms. Brad pretended to be a flower, arms outstretched, while Liv made a silly face, her hair blowing in the gentle breeze. Laughter erupted as they snapped picture after picture, the joy of the moment enveloping them like a warm hug. Okay, one more, Caitlin called out, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Let's do a jumping shot. They all leapt into the air, arms flailing, and the camera clicked just as they reached the peak of their jump. The resulting photo was a chaotic explosion of laughter and color, a perfect capture of their carefree spirits. As they settled back onto the soft grass, still giggling, Paige noticed something glinting beneath a rock nearby. Curiosity piqued, she wandered over and crouched down to investigate. Guys, come here, I think I found something. The others rushed over, their playful demeanor shifting to intrigue. Paige carefully lifted the rock, revealing a weathered piece of parchment tucked beneath it. It looks like a map, she exclaimed, her voice a mix of excitement and disbelief. Brad leaned in closer, his brow furrowing as he examined the map. It's definitely a treasure map, he declared, his voice filled with a sense of adventure. Look at these markings. It's got to lead somewhere. Are you serious? Ashley asked, her eyes wide. Like an actual treasure. Only one way to find out, Brad replied, a grin spreading across his face. Let's follow it. The group gathered around the map, their earlier laughter replaced by a palpable sense of anticipation. The map was old, the edges frayed and yellowed, but the ink was still legible. It depicted the garden they stood in, with a winding path leading to an X marked in the center of the park. Okay, so we start here, Caitlin pointed at the map, her finger tracing the path. And we need to head toward the big oak tree over there. She gestured to a massive tree standing sentinel at the edge of the garden, its branches sprawling like welcoming arms. Let's go, Liv said, her excitement bubbling over as she took off toward the oak tree, the others following closely behind. As they walked, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew thicker with anticipation, and the laughter that had filled the garden began to fade, replaced by a sense of purpose. The path wound through the park, leading them past familiar sights. The pond where they had fed the ducks, the playground where children played, and the picnic spot where their day had begun. Do you think there's really treasure? Ashley asked, her voice tinged with skepticism. What if it is just a prank? Or a really old stash of candy? Brad joked, trying to lighten the mood. But even he felt a flutter of uncertainty in his stomach. The thrill of the unknown was intoxicating, but so was the fear of disappointment. As they reached the oak tree, they paused, catching their breath. The tree loomed above them, its gnarled roots twisting through the earth like ancient fingers. The X should be around here somewhere, Caitlin said, scanning the ground. Let's split up and look, Paige suggested, her eyes sparkling with determination. We'll cover more ground that way. The friends nodded, and soon they were scattered around the base of the tree, digging through the soft earth and brushing away fallen leaves. The sound of rustling leaves and the distant laughter of children created a backdrop of normalcy, contrasting sharply with the thrill of their treasure hunt. Found anything? Liv called out, her voice echoing slightly in the stillness. Just a bunch of roots, Brad replied, frustration creeping into his tone. This is harder than I thought. Wait, Caitlin exclaimed, her voice rising with excitement. I think I see something. The others rushed over to where Caitlin knelt, her fingers brushing against a small, weathered chest partially buried in the dirt. Help me, she urged, her eyes wide with wonder. Together, they dug around the chest, their hearts racing as they unearthed it. The chest was small, made of dark wood and bound with rusted metal. It looked ancient, as if it had been waiting for them to discover it for centuries. Okay, on three, Brad said, his voice low and filled with anticipation. 1, 2, 3. They lifted the lid together, and a cloud of dust erupted into the air, causing them to cough and wave their hands in front of their faces. When the dust settled, they peered inside, their eyes widening in disbelief. The chest was filled with an assortment of trinkets, old coins, faded photographs, and a small velvet pouch. What is all this? Ashley whispered, her voice barely audible. Caitlin reached in and pulled out the pouch, her fingers trembling with excitement. Let's see what's inside. She opened the pouch, and a cascade of glittering gemstones spilled into her hands. Chapter 7 The treasure hunt begins. Okay, everyone, gather around. Brad exclaimed, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. He held the map aloft, the edges crinkled and worn, as if it had traveled through time itself. This is it. Our treasure hunt begins now. Mary-Kate leaned in closer, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. What do we know about this treasure? Do we even know if it is real? Liv, ever the dreamer, clasped her hands together. It has to be. Look at the drawings. There's a big X right here. She pointed to a spot marked with a crude sketch of a tree, its branches sprawling like a giant's fingers reaching for the sky. Ashley squinted at the map, tilting her head. And it looks like it leads us through the park. We should definitely follow it. What's the worst that could happen? Caitlin, always the voice of reason, raised an eyebrow. I don't know, guys. What if it is just a prank? Or worse, what if we get lost? Paige, who had been quietly observing, suddenly spoke up, her voice steady and confident. I think we should go for it. We're all together, and it is a beautiful day. Plus, it'll be fun. What do you say? The group exchanged glances, a silent agreement passing between them. The thrill of adventure was too intoxicating to resist. With a collective nod, they decided to embark on their treasure hunt, their laughter echoing through the park as they set off down the path. The first clue on the map led them to a towering oak tree, its gnarled roots twisting like ancient serpents. It says here we need to hop on one foot to find the next clue, Brad read aloud, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. Seriously? Caitlin rolled her eyes, but the corners of her mouth twitched in amusement. That's ridiculous. Come on, it'll be fun. Liv chimed in, already balancing on one foot and wobbling dramatically. Let's do it. With a chorus of laughter, they all joined Liv, hopping around the base of the tree like a bunch of clumsy kangaroos. Brad's exaggerated hops sent him tumbling into a patch of daisies, and he emerged with a flower crown perched atop his head, much to the delight of the others. Look at me, I'm the king of the treasure hunt, he declared, striking a pose. More like the jester, Ashley teased, playfully nudging him. But I'll take a picture for the Royal Archives. As she snapped a photo, the sound of her laughter mingled with the rustling leaves overhead, creating a symphony of joy that filled the air. The world around them faded, and for a moment, it was just the six of them, lost in their own bubble of happiness. Once they had completed the challenge, they gathered around the tree, searching for the next clue. It was Caitlin who spotted it first, a small piece of parchment wedged between two roots. I found it! She exclaimed, pulling it free with a triumphant grin. The group leaned in as she read the next riddle aloud. To find the treasure, you must sing, a song of joy that makes hearts ring. Find the one who loves to dance, and give them a chance to prance. Who loves to dance? Paige mused, tapping her chin thoughtfully. I mean, we all do, but Liv. Brad shouted, pointing at her. You're our dancer. Liv's cheeks flushed with excitement. Oh, come on, I can't just dance in front of everyone. Why not? It's part of the treasure hunt. Ashley encouraged, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Besides, we'll all join in. It'll be fun. With a reluctant smile, Liv took a deep breath and began to sway, her arms moving gracefully as she let the music in her heart guide her. The others quickly joined in, their movements a chaotic blend of laughter and rhythm. They twirled and spun, their feet tapping against the grass, drawing curious glances from passers-by. Look at them go, a woman remarked to her partner, chuckling as she pointed at the group. Looks like they're having the time of their lives, he replied, shaking his head with a smile. As Liv danced, her laughter rang out like a melody, and for a moment, the world around them faded into a blur. The joy of the moment enveloped them, and they felt invincible, united by the thrill of the hunt and the bonds of friendship. When the song finally came to an end, they collapsed onto the grass, breathless and exhilarated. That was amazing, Mary-Kate exclaimed, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes. I can't believe we just did that. Okay, what's next? Caitlin asked, her brow furrowing as she scanned the map. We need to find the one who loves to dance, right? Maybe it is a specific person, Paige suggested, glancing around the park. What if we ask someone? Let's ask that guy over there. Brad pointed to a man practicing his dance moves near the pond, his movements fluid and graceful. He looks like he knows how to prance. The group approached the man, who paused mid-spin and smiled at their eager faces. Hey there, what's going on? We're on a treasure hunt, Liv explained, her excitement bubbling over. And we need to find someone who loves to dance. Can you help us? The man chuckled, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Well, I do love to dance. What do you need me to do? Can you give us a clue? Ashley asked, her voice hopeful. Sure, but first, you have to show me your best dance moves, he challenged, crossing his arms playfully. The group exchanged glances, a mix of hesitation and excitement swirling among them. All right, let's do it, Brad declared, stepping forward with a confident grin. One by one, they took turns showcasing their best or worst dance moves, each performance eliciting laughter and cheers from the others. The man clapped along, clearly enjoying the spectacle. When it was finally Liv's turn again, she spun and twirled with abandon, her heart soaring as she lost herself in the rhythm. Chapter 8. The final clue. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the park as Brad, Mary-Kate, Liv, Ashley, Caitlin, and Paige returned to their picnic spot, laughter still echoing in their ears from the challenges they had just completed. They had danced, sung, and hopped their way through the park, each silly task drawing them closer together, their spirits buoyed by the thrill of adventure. But now, as they approached the familiar blanket, a sense of anticipation tinged the air. What awaited them at the end of this whimsical journey? Okay, everyone, this is it, Brad announced, his voice a mix of excitement and mock seriousness. The final clue leads us back to where it all began. Let's see what treasure awaits. Mary-Kate, her eyes sparkling with mischief, leaned closer to the others. I hope it is something good. I've been dreaming of gold coins and jewels. Or at least a lifetime supply of cookies, Liv chimed in, her mouth watering at the thought. As they gathered around the blanket, the laughter faded into a hush of curiosity. The picnic spread, once a vibrant array of food, now lay empty, save for a few crumbs and the remnants of their earlier chaos. Brad knelt down, his fingers brushing against the fabric, and felt something hard beneath it. Wait, there's something here, he exclaimed, lifting the corner of the blanket. With a swift motion, he revealed a small, weathered box, its surface adorned with faded stickers and a rusty latch. What is that? Caitlin asked, her voice barely above a whisper, eyes wide with intrigue. Only one way to find out, Ashley said, her excitement bubbling over as she leaned in closer. Brad fumbled with the latch, the metal creaking in protest. With a final tug, it sprang open, revealing an assortment of silly prizes. Rubber ducks, colorful plastic hats, and a collection of goofy sunglasses that seemed to have seen better days. Seriously, Paige burst out laughing, her voice ringing through the park. This is our treasure. Rubber ducks. Hey, don't knock the ducks, Brad said, holding one up triumphantly. They're classic. The group erupted into laughter, the sound mingling with the gentle rustle of leaves overhead. Each friend took turns trying on the ridiculous hats and sunglasses, striking poses as if they were on a fashion runway. The park, once a backdrop to their adventure, now felt like a stage for their impromptu performance. Look at me, I'm a fashion icon, Liv declared, donning a bright pink hat that was far too large for her head. She twirled dramatically, causing the others to erupt into cheers and applause. More like a fashion disaster, Caitlin teased, her laughter infectious. As they reveled in their silliness, a sense of warmth enveloped them, a reminder that the real treasure wasn't the box of trinkets but the memories they were creating together. Yet, beneath the laughter, a subtle tension lingered, unspoken but palpable. Each friend felt it, a flicker of something deeper that had begun to surface during their adventure. Okay, let's take a group photo with our treasures, Mary-Kate suggested, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. This is a moment we need to remember. They huddled together, arms draped around each other, the box of prizes held aloft like a trophy. As the camera clicked, capturing their joy, Brad felt a rush of affection for his friends. But his gaze lingered on Mary-Kate, her laughter bright and genuine, and a flutter of something more stirred within him. "Let's do one more silly pose," Ashley suggested, her eyes dancing with mischief. "How about we all pretend to be ducks?" With a chorus of quacks, they flapped their arms and waddled around the blanket, laughter spilling into the air like music. But as the laughter faded, Brad caught Mary-Kate's eye, and for a moment, the world around them blurred. The playful banter and silly antics faded into the background, leaving only the two of them in a bubble of unspoken words. "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" he asked, his voice low, pulling her aside from the group. Mary-Kate's smile faltered slightly, curiosity replacing her laughter. "Sure, what's up?" Brad took a deep breath, the weight of his thoughts pressing against his chest. "I know this day has been all about fun and games, but I've been thinking a lot lately. About us." Her brow furrowed, and he could see the flicker of surprise in her eyes. "Us? Yeah," he said, his heart racing. "I mean, we've been friends for so long, and I feel like there's something more between us. Something I can't ignore anymore." Mary-Kate's expression shifted, a mix of surprise and uncertainty. "Brad, Before she could finish, a loud quack interrupted them, drawing their attention back to the group. Liv had donned a pair of oversized sunglasses and was flapping her arms, leading the others in a ridiculous duck dance. "Come on, you two. Join us," she called, laughter bubbling in her voice. Brad's heart sank slightly, the moment slipping away like sand through his fingers. He glanced back at Mary-Kate, searching her eyes for a response, but the moment had passed, and the playful chaos of their friends pulled her back into the fold. "Let's go," she said, her smile returning as she rejoined the group, leaving Brad standing there, a mix of hope and confusion swirling within him. As the friends continued their antics, the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the park. The laughter echoed, but Brad felt a heaviness settle in his chest. He wanted to talk to Mary-Kate, to explore the feelings that had bubbled to the surface, but the moment had been lost in the laughter and chaos. "Hey, Brad, you coming?" Caitlin called, her voice bright and inviting. "Yeah, I'm coming," he replied, forcing a smile as he joined the group. But as they danced and quacked, his mind drifted back to the conversation he had almost had with Mary-Kate. The tension between them lingered, a thread woven through the fabric of their friendship, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the group finally settled down, exhausted but happy. They sprawled out on the blanket, the box of treasures nestled between them, and shared stories of their favorite moments from the day. "Remember when Brad tried to hop on one foot and fell over?" Ashley laughed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Hey, that was a strategic move," Brad protested, a grin spreading across his face. "I was just testing the ground for safety." "Sure you were," Caitlin teased, nudging him playfully. As the laughter faded, a comfortable silence settled over them. Chapter 9 Ants strike back. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a warm glow over the park as Brad, Mary-Kate, Liv, Ashley, Caitlin, and Paige reveled in the aftermath of their treasure hunt. They had just unearthed a small box filled with rubber ducks and funny hats, a delightful reminder that the real treasure was the laughter and camaraderie they shared. The air was thick with the scent of fresh grass and blooming flowers, and their spirits soared as they donned the silly hats, each one more ridiculous than the last. But just as they began to celebrate their victory, a familiar rustling sound broke through their laughter. The ants were back, and this time, They came in droves, a relentless army marching toward their picnic spread with a singular purpose: to reclaim what they believed was rightfully theirs. "Not again," Liv exclaimed, her voice a mix of disbelief and amusement as she spotted the advancing line of tiny invaders. "I thought we had a truce." "Clearly, they didn't get the memo," Brad replied, his eyes wide as he watched the ants swarm over the remnants of their picnic. The sandwiches, the pasta salad, even the last crumbs of cookies were under siege. "Okay, everyone, we need a plan," Caitlin said, her tone shifting from playful to serious. "We can't let them ruin our day again. Let's use our hats," Paige suggested, her eyes sparkling with mischief as she lifted her bright yellow sun hat. "We can create a barrier. Or we can use our shoes," Ashley chimed in, already kicking off her sneakers. "I'm not letting these little guys take my pasta salad without a fight." The group erupted into laughter, but the urgency of the situation quickly set in. They formed a huddle, strategizing their defense against the relentless swarm. "Okay, here's the plan," Brad said, his voice rising above the chatter. "Caitlin and I will use our hats to block their path. Liv, you and Ashley can distract them with some food. Paige, you're on shoe duty. If they get too close, you stomp." "Stomp. I can do that," Paige grinned, her determination evident as she picked up her shoe, brandishing it like a weapon. As they executed their plan, the scene turned into a chaotic ballet of laughter and frantic movements. Brad and Caitlin held their hats like shields, waving them in the air as if they were knights defending their castle. Liv and Ashley, armed with leftover fruit and cookies, danced around the blanket, tossing bits of food to the side to lure the ants away. "Over here, you little monsters," Liv shouted, her voice a mix of laughter and mock anger as she tossed a piece of watermelon into the grass. The ants, undeterred by the distraction, continued their relentless march toward the picnic spread. "Why are they so determined?" Ashley laughed, her voice rising in pitch as she waved her hands in the air. "It's like they have a vendetta against our lunch. Maybe they're just really passionate about pasta salad," Caitlin quipped, her eyes sparkling with mischief as she swung her hat to block a particularly bold ant. The antics drew the attention of nearby park goers, who paused to watch the spectacle unfold. A couple of children giggled, pointing at the group as they cheered each other on. An older man, sitting on a nearby bench, chuckled and shook his head, clearly entertained by the scene. "Looks like you've got a real battle on your hands," he called out, his voice warm and inviting. "Join us," Brad shouted back, his laughter infectious. "We could use all the help we can get." To their surprise, the man stood up, a twinkle in his eye. "I've fought my fair share of ants in my day. Count me in." As he approached, the group welcomed him with open arms, and soon, the park was alive with laughter and camaraderie. The man introduced himself as Mr. Thompson, a retired teacher with a knack for storytelling. He quickly became a part of their makeshift army, wielding his cane like a sword as he joined the fray. "All right, troops," he called out, rallying the group. "Let's show these ants who's boss." With renewed energy, the friends and their new ally launched into a series of hilarious maneuvers, each one more ridiculous than the last. They formed a line, hats held high, as they marched toward the advancing ants, chanting silly slogans like "No ants on our picnic," and "Pasta salad is off limits." "Look at us," Mary Kate laughed, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "We're like a marching band of picnic defenders." "More like a circus," Ashley added, her laughter ringing out as she stumbled over her own feet, nearly losing her balance. As the battle raged on, The ants seemed to retreat, momentarily confused by the unexpected onslaught. The friends cheered, their spirits soaring as they celebrated their small victory. "See, we make a great team," Caitlin exclaimed, her eyes shining with joy. "Who knew we'd be fighting ants today? Just another day in the life of the best picnic crew," Brad replied, a grin plastered across his face. But just as they began to relax, the ground trembled beneath them. A low rumble echoed through the park, and the friends exchanged worried glances. The ants, it seemed, were not done yet. Guys," Liv said, her voice trembling slightly. "I think we might have just angered the ant kingdom." From the depths of the grass, a new wave of ants surged forth, larger and more aggressive than before. They moved with purpose, a dark tide that threatened to overwhelm the picnic area once again. "Retreat, Mr. Thompson shouted, waving his cane in the air. "Fall back to the blanket." The group scrambled, laughter turning to panic as they raced back to their picnic spread. They grabbed their hats and shoes, trying to gather their belongings while fending off the relentless swarm. "Quick! We need to save the food," Ashley yelled, her voice a mix of urgency and determination. "Forget the food. Save yourselves," Caitlin shouted, her eyes wide as she swatted at the ants crawling up her leg. In the chaos, Liv stumbled, her foot catching on the edge of the blanket. She fell to the ground, laughter bubbling up even as she tried to regain her balance. "I'm not going down without a fight," she declared, swatting at the ants with her hands. "Liv, get up," Brad called, his voice filled with concern as he reached out to help her. "We need to regroup." With a burst of adrenaline, Liv sprang to her feet, brushing off her clothes. Okay, I'm up. Let's do this." As they rallied together, the friends formed a protective circle around their picnic spread, hats held high like shields. The ants surged forward, but this time, the group was ready. They shouted silly battle cries. Chapter 10 A Day to Remember. Can you believe we actually used our hats to fend off those ants? Caitlin laughed, her eyes sparkling with mirth as she tucked a stray hair behind her ear. "I thought we were going to be overrun." "Right, I'm still not sure who won that battle," Brad replied, grinning as he slung his backpack over one shoulder. "But I'd say we made quite the team. Next time, we should bring a picnic basket with a lid," Ashley suggested, her voice light but tinged with the seriousness of a seasoned warrior. "Or maybe just a can of bug spray. Or we could just eat at my place," Liv chimed in, her tone teasing. "I promise no ants will crash the party there." The group erupted into laughter again, the sound echoing through the park as they made their way back to the car. The air was fragrant with the scent of blooming flowers and freshly cut grass, a perfect backdrop to their camaraderie. As they walked, the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, a breathtaking canvas that seemed to mirror their joy. "Hey, remember when we found that treasure map?" Paige said, her voice rising with excitement. "I still can't believe it led us back to our picnic spot." "Yeah, and the prizes were ridiculous," Mary Kate added, shaking her head in disbelief. "Rubber ducks. Who even thought of that?" "Clearly, someone with a great sense of humor," Caitlin replied, her laughter infectious. "I'm keeping mine as a reminder of this day." As they reached the parking lot, the mood shifted slightly. The laughter faded into a comfortable silence, each friend lost in their thoughts. Brad glanced at Mary Kate, who was walking a few steps ahead, her expression contemplative. He felt a familiar tug in his chest, a mix of admiration and something deeper that he had yet to fully understand. "Hey, Mary-Kate, he called out, his voice breaking the silence. She turned, her brow slightly furrowed, as if she sensed the weight of his words before he even spoke them. "Can we talk? For a second?" "Sure," she replied, her tone light but her eyes searching his. The others continued toward the car, giving them a moment of privacy. Brad took a deep breath, feeling the cool evening air fill his lungs. "I just wanted to say today was really special. I mean, not just because of the fun we had, but because of you guys. I feel like we really bonded." Mary-Kate smiled, her cheeks flushing slightly. "I feel the same way. It's nice to have days like this, where everything just clicks." He hesitated, the words dancing on the tip of his tongue. "I've been thinking a lot about our friendship. I don't want to mess anything up, but I also don't want to ignore what's been growing between us." Her expression shifted, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. "What do you mean?" I think there's something more here," he said, his heart racing. "I care about you, Mary-Kate. A lot. And I don't want to just be friends if there's a chance for something deeper." The moment hung between them, charged with unspoken emotions. Mary-Kate's eyes widened, and for a heartbeat, Brad feared he had misread everything. But then, a soft smile broke across her face, and relief washed over him. "I've felt it too," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I just didn't know how to say it. I didn't want to ruin what we have." Brad stepped closer, the world around them fading into a blur. "So, what do we do now? Maybe we take it slow," she suggested, her gaze steady and sincere. "See where this goes." "Yeah, I'd like that," he replied, a grin spreading across his face. "I'd really like that." Just then, a loud honk from the parking lot broke the moment, and they turned to see the others waving them over, oblivious to the shift in the air. Brad chuckled, the tension dissipating as he and Mary-Kate joined their friends. "Did you two finally decide who gets the last cookie?" Ashley teased, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "Something like that," Brad replied, shooting Mary-Kate a conspiratorial glance. She smiled back, and he felt a warmth spread through him, a promise of what was to come. As they piled into the car, the laughter resumed, filling the vehicle with a sense of joy and camaraderie. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows as they drove away from the park, the memories of the day etched in their hearts. "Next time, we should bring a karaoke machine," Liv suggested, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. "Imagine the looks on people's faces." "Only if you promise to sing that ridiculous song you love," Caitlin shot back, laughter bubbling in her throat. "Deal," Liv replied, her eyes sparkling with mischief. As they drove through the winding roads, the conversation flowed easily, but beneath the surface, Brad felt a shift. The air was thick with unspoken words, and he couldn't shake the feeling that today had been a turning point. The laughter, the shared moments, and now this new understanding with Mary-Kate, it all felt significant. They reached the edge of town, the familiar sights of home coming into view. As they pulled into the driveway, Brad's heart raced with anticipation. He glanced at Mary-Kate, who was looking out the window, a soft smile playing on her lips. He wanted to reach out, to hold her hand, but the moment felt too fragile, too new. "Thanks for today, everyone," he said, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside him. "I really needed this." "Me too," Paige replied, her voice warm. "We should do it again soon." "Definitely," Ashley agreed, her eyes sparkling. "Next time, we'll make sure the ants don't crash the party." As they all piled out of the car, Brad lingered for a moment, watching his friends. They were a chaotic, beautiful mess, and he felt grateful to be part of it. But as he turned to follow them inside, a flicker of unease settled in his stomach. Something about the day felt too perfect, too idyllic. He couldn't shake the feeling that change was on the horizon, and not all of it would be good.